As if deciding to homeschool isn't already a big and scary decision, deciding on what curriculum to use, it can be extremely stressful. So today I am going to break down for you exactly how to choose the right curriculum for you and your kiddos. It is time for some girl talk. But first, if you're new here, my name is Sheree Lanette. I am a former teacher turned homeschool mom. I've been homeschooling my kiddos for 8 years, and I help new homeschool moms get started on their homeschooling journey. So if you're new and you're just getting started, make sure to download my free homeschool starter kit. It is linked in my description. Make sure to hit that subscribe button because every week I release episodes of Girl Talk where I share homeschool tips and advice. And I also release weekly episodes of me and my little family just living life and showing you what a homeschool lifestyle looks like. Okay, so this curriculum, how do we know which one to pick? First thing you want to do is just imagine what you want your homeschool days to look like. What do you want your style to be? So this is when I want you to think like, do you want to be in a classroom? Do you want to work at the kitchen table? And I know some of you are like, what does this have to do with the curriculum? This can help you just kind of determine if you picture yourself teaching your kids more, or if you picture them waking up and working independently. This will lead us in the direction of what curriculum to choose. So just imagine what you want your days to look like. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer to this. This is completely building what feels good to you. If you want to be out in nature and learning, if you want to have a classroom, if you want to be like me and I want to do it all, there is no wrong or right. It's just to give you an idea of, for one, envisioning what you want your days to look like and to build towards that. But for two, just to make the steps of choosing a curriculum a little less daunting because there's so many options out there. We're going to try to narrow down that pool for you. So the next step, and I would say this is probably the biggest step, is to determine your child's learning style. Now, if you already know how your child learns, that's amazing, but most of us don't. When I first started homeschooling, I didn't even think about paying attention to this, which you think I would have as a teacher, but they didn't teach us about learning styles either. Determining your child's learning style will help you, one, pick a curriculum, but it also sets them up for either struggle or success. So for example, when I first started homeschooling my son, he was language delayed and he was in speech services, and I was homeschooling him at home. I was trying to teach him his letters while they were trying to teach him how to speak. And I remember sitting with him and we would do our flashcards, and I would have like magnets for him to put on the board, and we'd write in the sand. We had a lot of hands-on activities and he just was not getting it. And so I started to question like, okay, well, maybe he's not ready to learn this yet. Maybe I'm just like pushing him too far. But then one day I put on a video for him on YouTube, and it was the ABC Mouse video, and they have all the letters with the songs, and he loved them. And then a couple of days later, I noticed that he was going up to the letters in the classroom and he was saying them. He had started identifying them. Now, granted, I had been working with him for a couple of months on this, and he was not grasping the concept. And so I was like, oh, I think I got something here. What I realized is, for one, we found out pretty soon that my son does have a photographic memory. If he's interested in something, he can remember it like that. But I would have never known that if I didn't learn his learning style. And once I realized he was a visual learner, it was like a game changer. So I remember I ran to his speech therapist and I was so excited. And I was like, when you're working with him, he needs more visual things. You can't just keep handing him toys. He's not a hands-on learner like that. And she was like, oh, that's cool. But in school, you know, they're not going to teach him that way. So it doesn't matter. This is why, as a homeschool mom, you have such a golden opportunity, because you do get to teach to their learning style. You don't have to put your child in a position to struggle to figure out how to learn the way they're being taught and then learn the information on top of it. It's frustrating for them, and it takes them longer to get the concepts, or sometimes they just don't get it at all. And it's not because there's something wrong with your child. It's because they're not being taught in the way that they learn. With that being said, what are the main learning styles? What learning styles should you be looking for? Well, there's three main ones. There's tactile, which is very hands-on. My daughter is a tactile learner. These are the ones where They want to do it. They want to get their hands on there. You can show me, but I want to do it myself. I learn best when you just let me play around and do it myself. Then there's, of course, visual learners like my son. So these are people you can write on the board. You can show them how to do something, and then they want to try to do it. Or videos are very helpful where they explain it or they break it down. And then we have our auditory learners. Now, auditory for me is everybody. Not in the form of like a lecture. Some people can sit there and listen to a lecture and retain information, but auditory for me is also music. And I believe that we're all auditory learners. That is why you can play a song from when you were a little kid, and as soon as you hear the music, it cues something in your brain. It brings all the words back and you can remember something. Whereas like I couldn't tell you half the stuff I learned in school. But music just has something to it that triggers our brain and brings back these memories. And we should incorporate music in as many things as we can. But these are the three main categories. So how do you know which one your kid falls under? Really, it's going to be just trial and error, like what I went through with Mikey. I had tried some things, they weren't working. I finally found out what worked. Now, ideally, if you do know what your child's learning style is, you're in a great position, because like once I knew and I started doing our curriculums, I knew I needed a curriculum that had the visual aspects to it. I know with my daughter, I would need some things where she's not going to just have to sit there and listen and retain and regurgitate. She needs to do. Now, if you aren't sure where your child is yet, the best thing you can do is find something that exposes them to all three. Once you find the way that your child learns, or you know you're exposing them to all three ways of learning, then you are setting them up for success. That is just one of the best things you can do when it comes to picking a curriculum. Now, the next thing you want to consider is your budget. Now, curriculum can be very, very expensive. I remember when I first started pricing curriculum, when I first started homeschooling, I was shocked that curriculums could be in like thousands of dollars. Like, I was, what? Now, at that time, you know, I was homeschooling 2 4-year-olds and a 2-year-old. I just could not see myself spending thousands of dollars on teaching like letters and numbers and like, I know this stuff. So at that age, I did just make their curriculum. I made their curriculum for many years until I actually found a curriculum that met all of my criteria. But you really just have to say, what's the budget that I want to spend? And do you think that it's worth it as far as like the time it's going to save you? Because making my own curriculum was, when they were little, it was cool. The older they got, it was a lot of work, which is why I found a curriculum. But you just want to figure out what your budget is. And once you have an idea, it'll immediately, if that's the first thing that you look at, like, okay, how much is this? It's out of my budget. It's going to help you weed out the stuff that you don't even need to spend time considering. The whole point of this is to narrow down the choosing your curriculum process as easy as possible, and that immediately will get rid of anything that doesn't fit within your budget. Here are some things that I took into consideration when I was picking my curriculum. Now, I consider myself very picky because I had been making our curriculum for so long and I felt like it was so tailored to my kids. For one, I needed something that was flexible. My kids started off where I didn't just have them doing one grade level. So if they needed to advance in one grade or one subject, but I was keeping them in another subject, I needed that flexibility where maybe you're in 5th grade in math, but you're in 7th grade in reading. So I wanted a lot of freedom and a lot of flexibility with that. But I also didn't want that to be something that they were broadcasting to my child. I'm very big on you are where you are. You're not ahead, you're not behind. And so I didn't want them to see like, oh, I'm in 7th grade now in this, but I'm in 5th grade in this. Like, what's going on? I didn't need them worrying about any of that. So being able to customize the grade levels without them knowing I was customizing the grade levels was a huge thing for me. I also wanted to be able to access multiple grade levels without paying multiple prices. So some curriculums require like I'm buying all of the 5th grade or all of the 6th grade or all of the kinder, but I wanted to be able to access multiple grade levels without paying for 3 different prices, because my kids are fluid. I can't say you're just going to be at 5th grade in every subject the whole school year. So that was a key consideration I took into. Next was, does it give access to distractions? So for me, I do tend to lean more towards online programs. When I was looking, I just felt like it was easier. It generates data for me to track what they're doing and how they're doing. But the only problem that came with that was that a lot of the curriculums or programs that I tried had games and activities that the kids could do, but I could not lock them, so they couldn't complete the activities until after they did their schoolwork. So there were some programs that I really, really liked, but I got rid of. Because with my son, if I'm not sitting there watching him and he's doing his schoolwork and he knows he can stop doing his schoolwork and he can go and like play a game or do something else, that's what he's going to go do. And I don't want to have to sit there and like have to watch his computer all the time. So I found a curriculum that got rid of that. Like, he can't go play games. He can't go to any of that point if he hasn't completed his schoolwork for the day. That was a huge one for me. A lot of online programs do have free trials. Take advantage of these free trials. I did a ton of them until I found the one that I liked. So this is when I realized with a lot of the programs that they just had too many free games, too many activities that were a distraction. Some of them were just so hard for me to navigate. Like, I need something that when I get on here, it's simple to use. It's easy for the kids to use. We're not spending the majority of our school time dealing with technical issues or things like that. The curriculum that we use is Time for Learning. I started using it this school year and I have really loved it. So after making our curriculum myself for so long, like I said, I was super picky, but this one gives me all of the things that I said. It caters to all three learning styles. It is flexible and customizable to different grade levels, able to track their work easily. It gives me full online resources, print out resources. It just had everything that I needed and more. And it's so easy to use where we're not spending a whole bunch of time fussing with the computer trying to figure it out. But it took me a long time of trial and error to get here. So when you're picking your curriculum and if you're getting frustrated because you're trying things and they're not working and you're trying things, that's part of the process and it's okay. Some people pick one curriculum, they use it the whole time and they love it, and that's okay too. Biggest thing when picking your curriculum is to help you narrow it down. There's so many choices out there. And if you pay attention to if it's going to fit into the lifestyle, the homeschool experience that you want, is it going to fit into your budget? Does it cater to your child's learning style? And then those little other things that I said, like, is it going to have distractions with video games if you're going with the online curriculum? And even in determining, do you want online or do you want books? Narrowing things down will make the selection so much less daunting for you. And then remember, it's okay. You might try multiple curriculum and then find out that, oh, I really liked math in this one, but I really liked reading in this one. And you can put those together. I see moms do this all the time. I know that this is a scary and overwhelming process, but if you just look at these key points and have your checklist, it's going to help you narrow things down so it won't be as overwhelming. I hope this helps you on your search for the right curriculum for you and your kiddos. As always, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can catch up with us later this week on our weekly vlog and just see what we've been up to. And I will see you guys next week on another episode of Girl Talk.